Hello, hello. I'm Juliana Hever, the plant-based dietitian, and this is the What Would Juliana Do Q&A. So many people have reached out and asked me what I stock in my pantry. So because I have a very unphotogenic, very difficult to navigate kitchen, I decided to bring my pantry into my living room, and I'm gonna share with you some of like a sampling of what I like to keep stocked in my pantry. So I actually really love to have all sorts of things, like a plethora of possibilities. So whenever I'm in the mood, I can make pretty much whatever I want. I really prioritize this. I keep lists so I stay stocked up. When I run out of something, I'm always kind of ready to have these types of foods available, because whether or not I have some fresh foods in my fridge or frozen foods, which are also a wonderful place for long-term storage, I could always whip up something super healthy whenever I'm in the mood, or when my kids come over and I can make them anything. It's such a wonderful luxury. And I kind of think of it as a priority for a health promoting diet, because when you plan to fail, you fail to plan, and it's really good to have things on hand all the time. So I'm going to show you just a sampling of the certain things that I really prioritize in my diet. First and foremost are legumes. This is one of the 6 daily threes. It includes beans, peas, lentils. Hummus should be a food group, and you can make hummus with these pantry staples, and soy foods as well. So for example, I have a whole hodgepodge of different beans, and I'm not really highlighting brands because I've got so many different types of brands that I like, but I have some black beans, I have some garbanzo beans, I have some split peas, which are really delicious. Oh, and I have yellow split peas, which are really, really fun and makes a really creamy, delicious texture when you cook them. And that said, cooking beans from scratch is delicious, and you can control having 0 sodium in there when you make them from scratch like this, but they are time consuming. You have to soak them ahead of time, then you have to cook them for a long period of time, so it's not always convenient. I do like to have those stocked, but I also am not afraid of canned beans. I do prefer either low sodium or no sodium beans. Like these are no sodium. They actually use kombu, like a sea vegetable, in there as well, for like the salty hit or the preservative. And I just happen to love this brand, and I have a whole array of different types of beans. I also love these oil-free refined pinto beans, and they have refried and black beans as well, where it's already kind of mashed up and together, but no oil. So it's a really good way to get some of that. I make some nachos and I make some burritos out of this. It's like I just heat this up with some salsa. So that said, I also always have some salsa on hand. I have different types of salsa that I like. This is a black bean and corn, and I have some regular tomato salsa. I always have pico de gallo, some usually in the refrigerator. That's usually a more fresh ingredient, but I love having that mixed with that. You just heat that up with those refried beans, and you have a quick burrito. And if you have fresh, some guacamole or cilantro or whatever you like to add, or some vegetables to stuff it up. I always like to add vegetables when I can. And by the way, this is what's so wonderful about the freezer. You could stock up frozen fruits and vegetables. So, those are the hardest things to keep stocked in your kitchen, fresh fruits and vegetables, but having them in the freezer is a great second best. By the way, nutritionally phenomenal, because frozen vegetables and fruits are harvested and flash frozen. So the nutrients actually are preserved even longer. It's actually even maybe a better way to get all of your nutrients in your vegetables. So people are afraid of frozen, but I say use the frozen, because if you can't have the fresh, then you're gonna always have backup. Now you can't make a salad out of frozen vegetables, so it's just good to have all of the above. So what else do we have in my pantry? So I also have whole grains. So I have stuff like black barley. I always have rice. This is a organic sprouted brown rice, which is really delicious. I have forbidden rice. Oh my goodness. If you guys haven't tried forbidden rice, oh, it's so delicious. It's black rice. I love this. It's one of my favorites. I like to keep that on hand. I like to have wild rice. I also have the frozen rice packages that you throw into the microwave. I mean, literally you could have that done in 3 minutes, and you could add that to your salsa and your beans, and you have like a really substantial hearty meal. You add some seasonings, you add some fresh vegetables, voila, you've got a perfect quick meal. You could also do a stir fry meal with a frozen rice pack, or just regular rice. You can make this on your stovetop or in your pressure cooker. It doesn't take too long if you're doing it in the pressure cooker as well. And then you have rice, and you have frozen vegetables, and you have a stir fry. You could add some tofu, and boom, you add some sauce, and you've got like a really quick meal in under 10 minutes, maybe 15, including prep time. Very simple. Now, when you talk about whole grains, you can go one step further. So for my kids, they love pasta. In fact, they are, I always say you are quite literally what you eat. That means my son and daughter are pasta because they live on pasta. And I know they're not watching this, so I could say that, but it's true. They would totally admit that. But I like to go for a whole grain pasta. I've been trying to experiment with these bean pastas. There's also some lentil pastas. My kids love ramen, so I've been getting this rice ramen. It's made out of rice and millet, so just totally whole grain pasta. So again, I want you to eat the whole grains. Like, I don't eat a lot of pasta, but for my kids, it's okay. And my clients that are doing weight loss, I don't have them do pasta at that time. Like, you could do it later, but it's just 1 degree away. Every time you get a degree away from the intact grain, you're losing some of the fiber, you're losing some of the nutrients. So you want to go to the original, but these are fine once in a while, absolutely. And they're fabulous if you're not worried about weight loss or you're getting plenty of different types of foods in your diet anyway. Here's some other kind of funky things I tend to have on hand, like dried mushrooms because of that umami flavor. You could grind this up into a powder and add some umami to any meal that you make. These are just a blend of gourmet mushrooms. I think I got this at Costco, but I always keep that on hand as well. And let's get into some of the tomato products. So I always love having canned tomatoes, diced tomatoes, all sorts of tomatoes. I like these because they're no salt added, which is awesome because a lot of these tomato products have a lot of salt. I always have tomato paste, again, umami. I like the jarred kind, but sometimes I do the canned. But tomato paste is fabulous in chilies and stews, and I use it in a lot of different sauces too. And then I always have jarred bell peppers, jarred in water. I use this for dressings all the time. I use this in sauces. You could add them just to salads. You could just cut them up, but I really love these roasted red peppers in a jar. They're delicious. And then you guys who know me, you know I love spicy, so I always have pickled jalapenos. I also use a lot of fresh jalapenos, but if I don't have them, this is a good thing to have as a, to put them, I look to put that in my salads. Oh, and also sun-dried tomatoes. I don't have any of those here. I have them in my pantry over there. I also like to have a lot of like stuff for flavoring. So I always use stuff like tamari, like gluten-free tamari or coconut aminos. You've seen me talk about that a lot in my videos with different recipes. That's just a really good, I use that as my salt source, or miso paste, which lives in the fridge. And I also have mustards. I have an array of mustards. This is a nice no salt added mustard, which is kind of nice because, I'm always trying to limit salt because salt is everywhere. So mustards are great. And I have every kind of mustard. I have Dijon, I have stone ground, I have yellow mustard. I use so many mustards in all the different, because they add so much flavor and not a lot of calorie and just a whole hint of deliciousness. So I love that. And okay, you guys know I love hot sauce, and life wouldn't be the same without some sriracha. Here's my other favorite of the moment is the Chipotle Tabasco I often talk about. I love this on everything. I'm a hot sauce queen. I use it way too frequently probably. And then there's vinegars. So there's so many vinegars. So I always have a rice vinegar for my Asian dishes. Every time I'm making a stir fry, I use a rice vinegar. I'm obsessed with this balsamic glaze. Oh my gosh, this is so good. It's really thick without sugar. It's just a thick balsamic glaze. It's fabulous. I have a truffle balsamic vinegar. I have a lemon balsamic vinegar. I have like all these different flavored vinegars, and they're amazing. If you don't feel like making a salad dressing, you could just pour some vinegar and it's delicious, fabulous, and you can have a great salad. Speaking of salads, I always also have artichoke hearts that are in water or brine, just because these are great for if you're gonna make a artichoke baked thing, like a recipe, or I like adding these to my salads too with sun-dried tomatoes. They're so good together. Nuts and seeds. I recommend you have 1 to 2 ounces of nuts and seeds a day for so many reasons, for the L-arginine, the vitamin E, there's all zinc, there's all these wonderful nutrients that are unique to nuts and seeds. And there is a ton of evidence showing very much lots of different types of benefits, various benefits on including 1 to 2 ounces of nuts and seeds a day. And that's a variety of nuts and seeds. So I always have a variety. I always have cashews. I use those a lot in dressings and sauces because it's a really neutral flavor, makes a really good cream sauce, a really good creamy base for all sorts of things. Anytime, if you made my recipes, you know I do a lot with cashews. But you can replace this. Anyone that's allergic to nuts, my dad is definitely allergic to nuts, so I'm very sensitive to it. And I work with a lot of clients that are sensitive to nuts. So you could just replace this with hemp seeds. If you're okay with seeds, most people are. Hemp seeds make the perfect substitution. Those are very healthy. I don't have my hemp seeds, chia seeds, and flax seeds in my pantry. I keep them in my freezer. And I think once I open my nuts, I also put those in the freezer as well, or the fridge, because the fat content will help them go rancid quicker. So you want to keep your high fat foods like your nuts and seeds in the freezer, especially after you've opened them. So I also have I have a package of pumpkin seeds, I have sunflower seeds, I have Brazil nuts, I have all sorts, a whole wide array, and you should try to mix it up. Pistachios, whatever you like, almonds, all of them are really wonderful. Walnuts are really healthy. I kind of ruined walnuts because I made sure to eat them every single day when I was pregnant, both of my pregnancies, because my acupuncture told me they're good for brain development, and I did it every day, and that's why my kids are so smart, because I suffered with those walnuts, and now I can't eat walnuts anymore. I've got that bad association, but you should eat your walnuts if you don't have it, because they're very healthy. And then finally, speaking of stuff to snack on, and not the original grain, but stuff like when I have a lot of guests come over, I love to feed my friends. So I have people come over whenever possible so I can, we could enjoy meals together. And so I love hummus. So I will serve hummus with a crudité with some raw vegetables. That's my favorite way to eat it. But I also always have some whole grain crackers because people love crackers. So I love these Marigon crackers. Of course, I get the jalapeno one, but they have all sorts of different flavors. Whole grain, gluten-free, delicious crackers. But I also like these thin, light rice crackers. These are not the brand I always used to eat, but the other one I like are not around. These are baked whole grain Tamari seaweed crackers, and they're so fabulous. So those are good for dipping. And one last final item that I've brought from my kitchen all the way to my living room is pureed fruit like pumpkin and sweet potato. And what else? These things are wonderful for baking. So I use these to bake with, and you'll see I've published several recipes for pumpkin muffins and blueberry muffins, and I always use those as the base because I'm not using eggs and I'm not using milk, and that just helps with the texture, and it helps, it infuses more nutrition into your baked good. So that is just some little sampling of my crazy pantry, and I hope that gives you some ideas, a little bit of inspiration. And I will share my freezer next time, but maybe after winter when I don't have to sit around here, and maybe I can get my freezer so clean that I can get a good angle on the camera actually in my freezer. So you would be shocked at how much is in that freezer. I might be a little, I have to plan ahead. So in the meanwhile, I hope that helps, and please continue your wonderful questions and comments. Leave them below in the comment section or via direct message or my website, plantbaseddietitian.com. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.